All of you know I am a massive fan of cryptids and conspiracies, just this enthusiast for the absurd. But many of you probably don't know that I actually have an entire show dedicated to exploring and educating on cryptids, conspiracies, cults, and cold cases. It's a show that I do with Windigoon and Jackson of the official podcast. It's called The Red Thread. Episode 1 dropped a couple weeks ago, and this shit popped off on Spotify. It was number 3 for true crime. I think it went all the way to number 1 briefly, but I haven't checked. Which gives me a hearty belly laugh that Goatman was beating out true crime podcasts. I mean, Goatman strikes again. You can never underestimate his power. Let that be a lesson to all of you in the community. And overall podcasts, it broke like the top 20, and it's just all about Goatman. It's just the three of us goobers going over the entire Goatman mythos and like the legend of the Goatman, as well as a cult that formed around him. And this show is like some of the most fun I have. Episode 2 actually comes out today. It'll be up by the time I post this video, so I'll link you to it. And it's exploring one of the most perplexing cold cases I've ever learned about. The death of Charles Morgan. I'll give you just the basics to get you hooked here, like a drug dealer giving you a sample so that way you come back for more. Charles Morgan was an individual who in the 1970s was found dead with a gunshot wound to the back of the head. And the authorities very quickly ruled that he must have done this to himself, which is a very interesting conclusion to draw given all of the evidence at the scene, such as a $2 bill that was in his underwear that had a lot of writing on it, such as some names, as well as a couple of other things. It gets pretty deep. It's not some cut and dry case here. It led to a lot of clues, which led to a lot of speculation, and the most important component of this puzzle is Charles Morgan's job. He actually held a very powerful position. And I don't want to spoil a whole lot more about this, but it gets extremely deep and complex. And there's just a lot of moving pieces to this story that make it a really interesting cold case that we thoroughly examined. So, episode 2 is up right now. I think it's fucking fire. I'm going to just go ahead and show you a montage of highlights from the Goatman episode as well as the newest one, the Charles Morgan episode, to get you hooked on the show.
Picture this. You're walking down a dark road at midnight, surrounded by the silhouettes of leafy trees rustling in the waning wind. Then from behind, seemingly impossibly, you hear the unmistakable bleating of a goat. At any other time, any other location, this would be endearing. Right now, it's terrifying. You push forward across the bridge, knowing that turning around isn't an option anymore.
Why is it not an option? It's just it's the sound of a goat. Like, it's not the most horrifying screech. Like, that wouldn't be super uncommon.
It would be scary. You'd be scared. You'd be scared. You'd be so scared. If you heard a goat
sound, I'd be like, no, it sounds about right.
Even turning around and seeing a goat would be terrifying at that point. Eventually, as luck would have it, you make it to the other side. The noise has disappeared, replaced by the sound of silence. Little did you know, you have just successfully crossed the infamous Pope Lick Trestle, nestled in Louisville, Kentucky, a bridge infamous for the Pope Lick monster, one of the many forms of the Goatman legend. You're lucky to have escaped with your life, for not everyone has been so fortunate. Welcome to The Red Thread, a brand new show where we talk about deeply interesting things like cryptids and conspiracies, and we deconstruct them and discuss them for you in detail to figure out why. Why does this thing exist, and why has its impact been so large to so many?
Hey, I'm resident Goatman enthusiast Charles. I like to keep my finger on the pulse of anything Pope Lick related, so it felt like the right fit.
Finger on the pulse of Pope licking. Look at the resident expert.
It's kind of like a folk legend that has spread and created additional variations based on, where people have migrated to, I guess, or where they've moved to. And this is pre-internet, by the way. This is like during the 70s, 80s. So it's existed for a long time, this kind of legend.
It's important that you also recognize that it could just be one goat man and he happens to be
Oh,
nomadic.
true.
So
Yeah, he could be
travel.
migrating. Yeah, I guess we've never seen two goat men like at the same time.
We've
So-
never seen one goat man at one time, actually.
True. I guess
Hey,
that.
watch your mouth.
Yeah, I didn't mean to discount all the evidence.
Don't say that about her. She's beautiful to me. My first interaction to Goatman, similar to Jackson, is when I was in high school. I came across a story. I think it was the Mr. Creepypasta narration of it, actually,
yeah.
if I remember right. And I remember listening to it and being just scared out of my mind for like days on end. And then I made all of my friends listen to it, and then they quit talking to me after that. Not because they thought it was scary, they just thought I was weird. Which, I mean, fair play on that.
So to paint a picture, he's usually portrayed as obviously half man, half goat. It's usually the bottom half is human and the head part is goat. What's the Greek, like the Greek god Pan? What are they called? Satyrs, right? They're kind of
Yeah. Like Tumnus.
yeah.
Narnia.
I knew you were gonna go the Narnia route. I'm trying to like tie this into actual like Greek, historical ties and stuff. And you go straight for Narnia.
Well, can you imagine, like, let's flip it. What if it was like a man body on a goat legs? It wouldn't be nearly as scary.
Well, wait, yeah, that's Tumnus. So it is the opposite of Tumnus, really.
Oh, wait, you're right. Tumnus is man top, goat
Yeah.
bottom, isn't it?
So yeah, Tumnus is anti-goat man, if anything.
Yeah, he's reverse goat man.
he's the good goat man.
Folklore expert named Thomas Markham. He believes that the goat man is responsible for at least 5 deaths recently.
Oh,
Recently.
Yeah.
Recently?
He says since 2019, there's been a lot of murders and grisly sightings reported near where Goatman is reported to hang out, and he attributes all of that to Goatman kidnapping and killing them.
oh wow. Wait,
was
what if this researcher's just killing people and he's blaming it on the good name of Goat?
Goatman killed this woman and buried her body over here. I saw the whole thing.
I've been tracking Goatman for days, found all of these bodies. Arrest him immediately.
Coincidence. Goatman's gonna have to sue for slander. That's how we finally catch sight of him.
He's like, guys, look, I throw rocks. I wouldn't do something this disgusting. God,
pretty
good lord.
I don't like vehicles, okay? This is preposterous that I would ever.
I'm imagining Goatman in a little suit at court, like fucking having to
He has
stand
to make an
trial against this
appearance.
guy. Yeah.
He's got on an old like boiler hat from the 30s, but it's got holes cut for his horns to come out the top of.
Yeah.
It sounds like something out of The Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, if you guys remember the Slender Man stabbings where 2 girls believed they were doing something on behalf of Slender Man, ended up stabbing a classmate like 17 times or something. She miraculously survived, but the killing is something that's attributed to the legend of Slender Man now. And I feel like Goatman's not far off, considering there is a cult formed around him, and in fact, one of the cult leaders, I suppose, his name is Ollie Asser. He dresses up in Goatman garb and stands at the Alton Bridge, and according to him, he said, "The last time I was here at night, I had one guy pull a knife on me, so either the cult will end up killing someone or they'll get killed under the belief of Goatman."
Goatman got robbed. He got robbed like that.
Yeah, he just got his wallet stolen.
What kind of lunatic tries to rob Goatman by his bridge? I
Bro.
want to know more about that guy.
That's the toughest crackhead you'll ever meet.
That guy was trained. He knew Goatman's weakness, which is a knife. That'd be fucking wild. The red thread is directly tied to the Goatman cult.
In their first episode, bro, we would
what a way
kill
to kick it
if
off.
that
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 happened,
could genuinely be our first sponsorship.
We get the cult leader of the Goatman cult to pay us to shout it out. There's not a lot of blood sacrifices and stuff like that in Satanism. Like, frankly, modern Satanism for the most part is like posers nowadays. You
Yeah,
know,
As
it's
you
not
would
it's
expect,
not
yeah.
it's not as legit. It's not as cool as it used to be. Yeah, but it used to
That
be
is like begging for proper Satanism.
I just want some good old fashioned Satanism. Okay, it's just I need a challenge. I haven't had a challenge in a while.
So if Jesus, we're getting really deep in the weeds here, but so if Jesus was the final lamb, who was the final goat then?
It would be Satan. It would be,
Okay.
the Antichrist, so to speak. Whereas, so that's what the Antichrist is. I mean, they got that one's just lazy, right? Like the inversion of Christ, Antichrist.
I mean, it's all pretty lazy. It's all derivative.
So we've got Jesus, who is the descendant of God, come to earth. The descendant of Satan come to earth would be the Antichrist. So the one to finally embody the goat imagery, be the final goat, so to speak, would be the Antichrist by that symbolism.
Gotcha. See,
Can you imagine if that is actually Goatman, though? Like, when at the time comes, the Antichrist appears, it's Goatman from Alton Bridge marching out.
he's the final goat?
What's really funny, too, is in, like, the book of Revelations, when the Antichrist is described, he's supposed to be a leader of the free world. He's like a politician who everyone gets behind. So could you imagine, like, the Goatman in a suit at, like, the UN speaking, uniting the world? And now current Satanism is, like, the Satanic Bible's just like, if God real, why bad thing happen? And that's like their whole...
Well, I mean, it is a good point.
Yeah, disprove it.
You're right. We never thought of that. Oh, no.
But then they can invert that
the
as
church is
well,
falling
and then
apart.
say they can invert that as well. Like Christians could invert that and also say, if good things happen, why Satan, or the other way around. Like it's the same shit. Get back
Now
at the
you're making some
Satanists.
big moves.
If good thing happen, why Satan?
Well, wait,
funny.
how would it be? Yeah, well, that was an inversion of the inversion, actually. It should be if Satan, why good things happen, right?
If Satan real, why good thing happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's the one.
That's it. Yeah.
I did too many inversions.
I wouldn't give him S tier either. I'd probably give him A tier. I think
Yeah.
S tier would be reserved for the ones that had like a legitimately huge impact on culture. Things like Slender Man or I think
Man.
Bloody Mary would be a really fun one to look at if you guys
Ooh,
ever
yeah.
did that in school where you put a penny
Yeah,
on the side
yeah.
of a sink, spin around 3 times saying Bloody Mary.
Yeah, Bloody Mary would be a
definitely
good
good.
one. I did do that too. I was scared out of my mind while I was doing it.
I was too scared to do it originally, but eventually I
She
did
might
it when I
might
was, like,
still pop up one day. Maybe she's
Yeah.
working her way through everyone one at a
delayed,
time. Yeah,
She's got a queue system. Yeah.
She's got like a support call center working for her to try to like optimize it.
Or, you take a number, stand in line. Yeah.
I never did it. I couldn't bring myself to. When people were trying to force me into it, I went into the bathroom and I just stood there for what I felt would be long enough to make them believe I did it.
And
Charlie
then Bloody
safe.
Mary still gets you because she thinks you're a pussy.
She's like, you bitch. There was a guy in Florida who killed himself, but he wanted to make it look like an assassination. So what he did is he shot himself in the chest twice and then tied the gun to a balloon that flew away. So that way it looked like someone had assassinated him and ran.
So just to confuse the investigators or anyone interested
Yeah.
in the case.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
that is a power move. Like, if
Yeah, I
you
don't
are
remember-
going to go out, that's probably the way to do it. So I am excited to get into that. All right. So the first there's so much fucking pages here on the document. I'm trying to move around it.
Yeah, you
Also,
just did like a whole scat man right there. The guy with the porky pig.
A few days later, 3 days later, he returned to his house, missing his shoe, and plastic handcuffs were placed on his ankles and hands. I don't know why they were plastic, if that has any part.
if I recall correctly, I don't know if they were like, zip cuffs, the kind that like,
Yeah.
the police use or
Oh.
whatever. It was similar. They weren't called zip cuffs back then, but it's a similar design to them. If I recall right, that's what it's referring to there.
Right, so not like police handcuffs, but just
Yeah, this wasn't like a kid's like playset.
yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. When I was reading the research, I was like, "Why? What kind of like I don't know, like mobster ties up their prey with like plastic handcuffs and stuff?"
He got kidnapped by playground bullies.
He's like, lock him up, boys, and he gets out like a bright orange, like Fisher Price lock.
One of those like plastic hammers, you beat him over the head with it.
He has a calf gun. He's like, I didn't want to do this. Could you imagine if that letter had details like that? If it was like, mentioning
That's the
these
key.
7 Spanish names and stuff? Yeah.
I know, so
Or
frustrating.
if it was just written in plain, non-confusing English about what's going on.
It's just written on the letter. Hey, forget about all that shit on the $2 bill. Here's what actually happened.
Hey Ruth, I know you weren't smart enough to crack my $2 bill, so here's the step-by-step on what's gone down.
It's just I killed myself.
I like Charlie setting it over here. Like, what's with the puzzles? Who did it? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I feel like it's so unnecessary to try and get us on a wild goose chase. If he knows well, I guess he didn't know he was about to die, unless it was a planned suicide, but you could have just been like, hey, here's the bad guys. They're not nice.
And then perhaps they weren't happy with him after that, and perhaps they believed that he had a document with all their names on it or something, or a ledger with financial information and stuff, and that's why they eventually performed the hit and then raided his house and took the documents and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think that's a compelling theory, honestly.
I think that's like the main theory that most people will draw when connecting all the dots. Like, I think that's the one that makes the most logical sense when you follow everything about the investigation.
Which means it's wrong in your eyes immediately.
Yeah, which means it's too easy. Which is why we need to reanalyze.
back to the drawing board.
The body of a Doug Johnston, a 35-year-old who worked for a computer graphics company, was found in his car at his company's parking lot at roughly midnight in Phoenix, Arizona. I don't know how far away Phoenix is from Tucson.
I mean, they're in the same state. What aren't they like 3 hours apart, Charlie? Something like that.
I don't know enough about Arizona, but the way you keep pronouncing Tucson is like Carl Weezer with croissant. It's really adorable.
I get so caught in my head about pronunciations that I just overthink it, I think. Or my mouth's not capable of it.
It's America, brother. It's like as simple as it gets, just Tucson.
Well, it's not, because Maryland should be said Maryland instead of Maryland or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, now you're just sounding stupid. Yeah.
All right, that's too far. Not happening.
Yeah, you went way too far.
All right. Well, at least I got Phoenix, unless you pronounce it like Phoenix or something.
No, Phoenix.
Authorities first believed that this death was a suicide because that's apparently their immediate go-to whenever someone's shot in the back of the head. So they immediately thought his death was a suicide, but there was no powder residue on his dominant hand, and more importantly, there was no gun found at the scene. So yeah, no shit, it wasn't a suicide. Like what the fuck? Like,
no, you don't understand.
It's a vanishing gun.
He shot himself in the back of the head, and the gun despawned. Yeah. I'm very curious, in like the entire recorded history of suicides, how many of them are to the back of the head, and then also like the gun being displaced so far away. I have to imagine that it's like unfathomably rare as like a suicide method.
What do you mean? It's happened 2 times in this one episode.
And now everyone that investigated it has been hunted, is my theory, which is very concerning considering that was 22 years later that 2 people ended up dead from the case.
Yeah, so they were still operating 22 years after the initial cold case itself.
Yeah, and I remember in BuzzFeed Unsolved, the hosts were talking about how it could be bad for them, so they had to make the disclaimer that they're not investigating anymore, so don't worry about killing them. I think it's important we also mention that. Hey, we're not looking into it ourselves.
I think it's important that we make it clear. Jackson and myself not looking into it, but Charlie has been digging into this case for weeks and weeks.
Yeah, you heard it.
He's got
and
names.
I concluded that it was
pinboards.
nothing fishy. It was all suicide. Charles Morgan was a maniac. There's nothing deeper.
I think we just need to make it clear that anyone we don't like has been digging into this day in, day out. I personally don't care. I'm not looking into it, but
yeah, I don't care. I got no skin in the game. I'm in Australia. You guys do whatever you want over there.
Well, maybe they moved operations over there.
Oh,
look out. They're going to take a plane. They'll be over there shortly.
I think they could get away with disappearing me pretty easily over here, honestly. That's a scary thought. I'm not investigating you guys. It's fine.
After that comment you made about this gang still looking out to get people, maybe I shouldn't have pieced all of it together. like that on the record just then. But you
Yeah,
know
yours
what?
is far more logical than mine. You're the bigger threat.
No.
I'm the
I
dumb
don't
guy.
think
It's not
you
too late
gave
to
me
cancel
the
the
idea.
episode.
And I should also mention, if I ever kill myself, no, I didn't. And also, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just regurgitating the stuff they said. I'm not looking into this case anymore beyond this, and I really don't care. I just want to play.
Fuck it. I'll take credit for this.
Okay,
I
Go
am
ahead,
saying
Jackson.
I came up with all of what he just said, and also if I commit suicide or whatever, that just proves me right. You sons of bitches out there.
Everything I just read is off of a 14-page document that Jackson wrote. Okay,
That is true. This is all from Jackson.
This is
you
all
can
Jackson.
check the logs.
I didn't
I'm
do
proud
it.
of it. I'm proud
So
of
yeah,
that.
you go. What, Jackson? If you die from a conspiracy we covered in episode 2, do you know how crazy that
it's
will
gonna
go?
be great for the
online?
publicity,
It's gonna be
guys.
fantastic. Charlie and I will be drying our tears with Benjamins. It will be fantastic.
True.
Anything
So,
for
yeah.
the podcast, boys.
yeah, it was all Jackson. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add, though, just to further incriminate myself, is that it is also alleged that Charles was keeping both of these. There were certain mob families at the time, family and the family.
Oh, he said the name. He said the name.
What, you're name dropping? Are you insane?
I'm actually
Bro,
dead now.
dude, my camera battery died as you said the names. I'm not kidding. It straight up just died. Oh my gosh. You go, I think the family's implicated. Badoom.
They're not around anymore, right?
I would
buddy,
imagine they
sure.
are, man. All the way until the 90s, yeah, they're probably still around.
I'll look it up. It's fine. They won't come over here.
Bro, I thought I was implicating myself. That was crazy.
I don't even think BuzzFeed Unsolved dropped their names, brother.
All right, I'm recording again. He just implicated names of people. We should wrap this one up. I didn't hear those names because my mic glitched out for a second.
Oh, my bad. It
I
was
don't know who he's
family
talking.
and family, just in case you missed it. So it's alleged that Charles was helping both of those people. Just to put it back out there, he was helping them, and he kept duplicate records of all of the transactions, likely as a bargaining chip in case his business partners, the family, threatened him. Could this potentially have been stolen from the house during the fake FBI raid? That's my question. Was there a document with duplication, like a duplicate document, tying all of the transactions together that was then stolen? Perhaps not. Perhaps those two families that I mentioned are completely innocent. And
Well, I have no idea what Jackson's talking about. He's going crazy.
so I think we've got everything, though. I think we've covered everything. I think we've got all of our theories out there. Yeah, like I said, I think that's the most logical. Charlie, did you have anything else to add?
Just that at the end of the day, I think it's a tragic case of suicide, and it's just a really unfortunate set of circumstances
Yeah.
surrounding it.
It's really impossible to know.
And I think what's even more tragic is Jackson implicating two innocent families who had
Yeah,
absolutely
it was-
nothing to do with this.
Yeah. I mean, really, I'm probably the safest person out of any of us because I directly name them. So if anything happens to me, that's on them. Like, that's clearly them.
Let's say this: whatever the safest theory is, I subscribe to that one. That's the one I. That's the one I believe in.
you pussies! Come on, insult them. Be brave.
No,
They're not even around anymore. I doubt they're even around.
Oh yeah,
they-
you think you're so brave? Post your docs. Go ahead, do it. Do it, and then talk about it.
You can meet me in my local park at sundown.
I'll be by myself, facing a wall with no witnesses.
All right, so nothing else to add, Charlie. You're going into witness protection mode currently.
yeah, I think the official story is the correct
You're
one.
such a pussy. You're such a
Whatever
pussy.
the cops
Come on.
said.
You actually
All right,
would
next
be
week.
afraid of this.
Next week we're going to cover an Australian killing, and we'll see how soon
next-
you are to talk about the Wallaby Gang and the dingo attacks and whatnot.
We do have some.
Yeah, we
do
should
have some
absolutely
good
do an
theories.
Australian one next.
Yeah, that'll
and
be
then we'll
silent.
talk about how you came up with all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good job.
I actually probably will need to go into witness protection. If I don't even think that exists over here, I'm fucked.
I think normally whenever Americans go into witness protection, they go to Australia. So I guess they just like drive you around the block and drop you off.
Oh yeah, they just take Jackson to a different part of Australia.
He moves across the
Don't
street.
do that. I'll confuse myself. I won't know how to get home.
He
made me so
literally lives the next apartment down. He's like, I'm a man off the grid. I've gone rogue.
I have to live off the land.
He's out
just
at
a
like a
it's just a
grocery
normal
store,
apartment.
like eating
Yeah.
9 on apples out of the line.
It's like a normal fucking like townhouse in suburbia. I'm out in the front yard, like raking, like making a potato garden bed or something with a
He's
rake,
built a little hut out front. They'll never find me here.
foraging for berries. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of The Red Thread. I appreciate you all being here, and I hope this show continues to delight and entertain you all, and I don't die mysteriously. I really do. Hope that. Thank you all for joining. We'll see you next week. Oh, next time.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.